Welcome both to the program. Can I just start by reflecting on where you actually are? You're sitting right in your village there, and it looks like an amazing sight. But what has been going on over the last several days and weeks there?
Well, yeah, I'm in my village with Weyuval. It's called Twani village. It's one of the 20 small communities here in the South Hebron area called Masafar Yata town. What has been going on for the last 3 weeks and months, actually very crazy. Settlers not stopping, creating illegal outposts. Today, actually, they just stole one of the caves belonging to one of the families not far from here, and they started a new illegal outpost. Israeli occupation forces joined them and kick away the families and the neighbors that gathered there, try to protest against this illegal outposts. At least 9 illegal Israeli outposts have been built in Masafar Yata just in the last 2 years. On the other hand, Israeli army continue to destroy Palestinians' homes, water wells, and other constructions.
Yuval, you're there with Bاسل, and you both are wearing exactly the same shirt, and I believe it refers to one of your colleagues who has been killed. Tell me about the T-shirts.
Yeah. So this is our dear friend and our colleague Cudda, who is a resident of one of the villages right next to us. And he was really killed in cold blood. He was murdered by an Israeli settler who was invading his village. He was documented as he was shooting him from close range. Cudda was filming, actually, the last moments of his life. And as almost always in these cases, the settler today is not only free in On Levi, but he is actually always coming again to the village where there is now another, as Bاسل said, illegal outpost that is being built there. And it was important for us to wear this shirt in solidarity with our colleague, but also to say, I mean, you know, anybody can think how it must feel like if you see your loved one being murdered in front of your eyes, and the person who did that faces no justice and no accountability. And unfortunately, this is how these things happen here in this place that we are in under Israel's military occupation for a very, very long time.
And of course, the colleague who helped also on No Other Land, Hamdan Bilal, he was attacked shortly after you all received the Oscar. And Bاسل, you've had raids on your own house. Can you both tell me, Bاسl, you first, what has your treatment been like there in the occupied West Bank, in your villages there, since having won the Oscar? And why do you think it's like this?
Well, Israeli occupation forces is targeted Palestinians who speaks out loudly against the occupation. You know, in Gaza they killed systematically over than 250 journalists and activists who've been documenting the genocide for the last 2 years, risking their life, and they have been targeted by the Israeli forces. Here in the West Bank, the same. Many of our colleagues and friends, Palestinian journalists, are thrown in the Israeli prisons and jails with no charge, you know, just because they are documenting and they're talking out loud against the occupation. Me and Hamdan, after winning the Oscar, you know, Hamdan has been attacked by both Israeli settlers and soldiers in front of his home, and they have been abducted after then by Israeli soldiers for at least 24 hours in an Israeli military base. And they've been like attacking him, beating him, cursing him there. For me, myself, you know, my home has been invaded at least 3 times, harassing me. You know, they detain my wife in the home, searching her home, and like just to provocate us and just to make as they call it, like their presence felt in our community and in our houses here as a Palestinians, and just to show us who's the boss. And they say this out loud, you know.
Yuval, you are obviously an Israeli journalist for the online magazine 972. You know, what Bاسل is talking about is Israelis, whether it's IDF or settlers, attacking Palestinians. But you're an Israeli. What is it like for you? And do you ever try, as an Israeli, to ask them what they're doing, I'm sure you do, to try to intervene? How do they treat you as a fellow Israeli?
Yeah. So, you know, much of our work, and of course our film, is based on the realization that Israelis and Palestinians, Bاسل and myself, are living under a system which privileges Jewish Israelis in every way. And there is a group of Israelis and international activists who try to leverage that privilege to come to places like this, to Masafar Yata and other areas now in the West Bank, especially in the olive harvest season where the attacks are, happening on a daily basis, these pogroms. And yes, to try to do protective presence, to try to document, to try to be first in line so that, to somehow have some pushback against what the settlers and the army are doing. And I've had many Israeli friends of mine who come here, they were assaulted as well. Like Ta'ir, a good friend of mine, her head was fractured recently and she was attacked by settlers. And still, of course, it's not the same as for the Palestinians, because at the end of the day, we can go back home. I can go back to Jerusalem, a city that Bاسل cannot enter as a Palestinian, like millions of other Palestinians. And so we are trying to do what we can to use this privilege to show that, there are Israelis who are opposing this occupation, but we are very little, and honestly, we don't have a lot of power, and it's becoming less and less effective, unfortunately, because the violence is so crazy, and whatever you do, I mean, it's very, very hard to feel like it has an effect. But we are continuing. We are continuing to do what we are doing, which is to be on the ground, to document, and to trying to change this reality. And we need the help of the international community, honestly, Kристиан. I feel like the international community, by not taking action, is weakening people like us, people from the Israeli and Palestinian human rights community. And we really need this because things are really severe on the ground right now.